You checked your phone again 12 times now, maybe more. You lost count somewhere between the third glance and the quiet deal you made with yourself. Just one more look, and then I will put it down. They read your message. You know they did. The small confirmation sits there like a fingerprint on glass. Seen, acknowledged, and then nothing. But here is what cuts deeper than the silence. It is not that they did not reply. It is that you are still waiting. It is that some part of you, the part that knows, the part that has always known, already has the answer, and yet your hand reaches for the phone again, as if checking one more time might change what is already true. Your chest feels tight. Not the sharp tightness of a sudden wound, the dull, heavy kind. The kind that has been living in you for weeks, maybe months. You breathe around it the way a tree grows around a fence post, slowly, painfully, incorporating the obstruction into your shape until you forget it was never supposed to be there. You smile at work. You laugh at dinner. You carry this stone behind your ribs and tell no one. And that is the pattern I want you to see. Not the silence from the other person, not their absence, but yours. Your absence from yourself. Because the deepest injury here is not that someone treats you like an option. The deepest injury is that you stayed long enough to prove them right. This is not a lesson about them. This is a lesson about the quiet war happening inside you, between the part that knows your worth and the part that keeps negotiating it downward, hoping that if you just give a little more, wait a little longer, ask a little less, they will finally turn around and see you. They will not. And the freedom you are looking for does not begin when they change. It begins when you stop waiting for them to. Let me describe something, and you tell me if it lives inside you. There is a feeling, not quite anger, not quite sadness, that arrive when you realize you have been making yourself small for someone who never noticed the sacrifice. You adjusted your schedule around theirs. You replied quickly because you did not want them to feel what they so easily let you feel. You remembered the small things, their preferences, their moods, the way their voice changes when they are tired, the silence that means they want to be left alone versus the silence that means they want you to stay. You treated those details as sacred because that is what care looks like to you. Attention, presence, the quiet labor of showing up even when it is not convenient. And then one day, or maybe two, was a slow accumulation of days. The way dust gathers on a surface you stop touching. You noticed something. The effort only traveled in one direction. The bridge you were building with your bare hands had no one walking toward you from the other side. You could see them over there on the far bank, living their life at a pace that did not include you. And still you laid another plank. Still you hammered another nail. You did not collapse in that moment. That is not how this kind of pain works. Instead, you made an excuse. You said they were busy. You said they cared in their own way. You said maybe you were asking for too much. Maybe your need for reassurance was the real problem. Maybe you were too sensitive, too intense, too much, and that excuse became a room. And you furnished that room with patience. And you called it love. But it was not love. It was fear wearing the mask of devotion. Do not hate yourself for this. That hatred is just another room with no windows, another cage built from the inside. What happened to you is not a flaw in your character. It is a pattern, old, familiar, and once necessary. There was a time in your life, perhaps very early, when you learned that love was something you had to earn. That attention was a reward for good behavior, for silence, for smallness. That if you were youthful enough, agreeable enough, invisible enough in your own needs, someone might stay, someone might choose you, not because of who you were, but because of how little trouble you caused. That learning kept you alive once. It helped you navigate a world where affection was conditional and presence was unpredictable. You adapted. You became the one who gives more, expects less, and calls it strength. You became fluent in the language of other people's needs, while your own became a dialect you barely spoke. But what protected the child is now imprisoning the adult. And the first act of freedom is not confrontation. It is recognition. See it clearly. See the pattern without judgment, but also without mercy. Because mercy toward a pattern that is destroying you is not compassion, it is complicity. And once you see this clearly, another layer becomes impossible to ignore. You are not angry because they treated you as an option, not truly. If a stranger on the street ignored you, it would not break your chest open. The pain is not about the act. The pain is about the agreement. Somewhere along the way you agreed to the terms. Not with words. No one signs a contract like this with a pen. You agreed with your behavior. You agreed every time you accepted a half reply as a full conversation. You agreed every time you made yourself available on their schedule while your own went unacknowledged. You accepted a position you never would have offered someone else. You replied to half efforts with full devotion. You translated their indifference into a language you could tolerate. Maybe they are stressed, maybe they need space, maybe I should try harder, maybe this is just how they are. And their retranslation was a small betrayal, not of them, of you. This is the part most people never reach. They stay on the surface, blaming, resenting, building cases in their mind against the other person. And that resentment feels powerful for a while. It feels like armor. It feels righteous. It gives the mind something to grip when the heart has nothing to hold. But resentment is not strength. It is a chain that keeps you facing backward, fighting a version of the past that has already left the room. The real question is not why did they trick me this way. The real question is why did I keep handing them the permission to. And before you turn that into another weapon against yourself, stop. This is not about blame. You may not be responsible for what happened to you, but you are responsible for what you continue to practice inside yourself. And there is an enormous difference between blame and responsibility. Blame looks backward and assigns punishment. Responsibility looks forward and reclaims power. You are not guilty for wanting love. You were not foolish for believing someone when they showed you a softer face. You responded to what was offered. That is human. But from this day forward, what you practice is your choice. Responsibility is not punishment. It is the doorknob on a door you did not know you could open. There is an old image from the mountains, and I want you to hold it for a moment. A river does not fight the rock. It does not argue with the stone about whether it deserves to pass. It does not wait beside the obstacle, hoping the rock will move on its own. It does not send messages to the rock. It does not check whether the rock has noticed its current. It does not bargain. If I am more gentle, more persistent, more accommodating, perhaps this rock will finally step aside. The river simply moves. It finds another way, not because it is indifferent to the rock, not because the rock does not exist, but because the river knows something most people forget. Its nature is to flow. Its purpose is larger than any single obstacle, and anything that stops the flow is not a destination. It is a detour. You are the river, and the person who treats you as an option. They are not a wall. They are a stone in the current. They feel enormous right now because you have been standing still, pressing your whole body against them, trying to move something that was never yours to carry. You have poured so much of your current against this one stone that you have forgotten there is a whole landscape waiting downstream, fields that need your water, valleys that would welcome your presence, a sea that has been calling you since before you learned to be afraid of moving. Step back. Let the water remember its direction. This is not coldness. This is not giving up. This is not the dramatic exit that some part of you fantasizes about, the door slamming the last word, the speech that finally makes them understand what they lost. That fantasy is still about them. It is still auditioning for their attention, just from a different stage. The real leaving is quieter than that. It is the deepest kind of respect for yourself and honestly for them. Because when you stop forcing someone to see your value, you release them from a role they never wanted, and you free yourself from a performance that was slowly erasing who you are. The river does not diminish itself to fit through a smaller space. It rises. It finds the path that matches its volume. Begin quietly. The next time you feel the impulse to send another message, to check again, to reach towards someone who has shown you to action, not words. Where you stand, pause. Place your hand flat on your chest. Feel your own heartbeat. That rhythm was there before this person entered your life. It will be there after. And ask one question: am I moving toward this person or away from myself? If the answer is the second, your body already knows what your mind is still negotiating. Now let us go deeper. Because the surface wound, being treated as an option, is painful, but beneath it lives something older and more persistent. It is the belief that your presence must be justified. Watch how it operates in the small moments. You do not simply enter a room. You enter a room and immediately begin calculating. Am I welcome here? Am I taking up too much space? Am I enough? You do not simply offer your opinion. You measure it first, trim the edges, soften the tone, check the faces around you before you let it out. And if the faces do not soften in return, you swallow it. You tell yourself the timing was wrong, but the timing was not wrong. The belief was wrong. The belief that your voice requires permission before it can exist in the world. You do not simply exist in a relationship. You perform, you audition. Every day you reapply for a position that should have been yours from the beginning. This is exhausting. And the exhaustion is not dramatic. It is the quiet kind. The kind that makes you cancel plans not because you are busy, but because you have nothing left. The kind that makes you lie in bed and scroll through nothing, eyes open but presence gone. The kind that makes a rest feel like another task you are failing at. You are not lazy. You are depleted. You have been running an engine that burned your own worth as fuel. And here is the distinction most people miss entirely. There is a difference between earning respect and auditioning for it. Earning respect means you bring your honest self to the table and let the work, the consistency, the quiet integrity speak over time. It asks nothing. It simply is. Like a tree that bears fruit, the tree does not chase the person who might eat. It stands, it grows, it offers, and if no one comes, the fruit still ripens. The tree does not question its own roots. Auditioning for respect means you change shape depending on who is watching. You laugh louder when they seem distant. You become smaller when they seem overwhelmed. You abandon your own rhythm to match theirs. And you call it flexibility, but it is erasure. It is the slow daily practice of disappearing while still being visible. And the person who sees you doing this, whether they know it consciously or not, does not respect you more for it. They respect you less. Because at some level everyone consents when someone is performing. And performance, no matter how convincing, is never the same as presence. One is grounded, the other is desperate. And desperation, no matter how well it is dressed, always reveals itself, not to others first, to you, in the mirror, at 3 in the morning, in the moments between tasks when the noise drops and you hear your own voice asking, why am I so tired of being myself around this person? That question is not a breakdown. It is a breakthrough trying to reach you. Here is what I want you to practice, and it will feel foreign at first. The way silence feels foreign to someone who has been living in noise. The next time you are with someone, anyone, notice the moment you begin adjusting, the moment your posture shifts to accommodate, the moment your words rearrange themselves to land more safely. And in that moment, do nothing. Do not correct yourself. Do not perform the opposite. Simply notice. Let the awareness be enough. Awareness without action is still transformation. Because you cannot keep doing something unconsciously once you have made it conscious. The pattern does not survive the light. It only thrives in the dark, in the automatic, in the unexamined, in the spaces you have not yet had the courage to look. You are not trying to become someone who does not care. You are trying to become someone who does not disappear. And once this awareness sharpens, you will begin to notice something else. Something that might disturb you at first. You will see how much of your suffering is maintained by hope. Not the clean hope that carries you through difficulty. Not the hope that says, I believe I can build something meaningful with my own hands and my own time. That hope is fuel. That hope is necessary. Guard it. I am talking about the other kind. The kind that keeps you loyal to someone who is already gone. not gone from your life perhaps, but gone from the effort, gone from the care, present in name but absent in the ways that matter, the kind of hope that replays a single good memory. One afternoon, one sentence, one look they gave you 3 months ago and uses it as evidence that the whole thing is worth saving, the kind that whispers maybe tomorrow will be different, while tomorrow arrives wearing the same face as yesterday and the day before that. This hope is not a virtue, it is a trap dressed in the clothing of patience. And here is where the distinction becomes critical, because most people confuse the two and suffer for years because of it. Patience is the ability to remain steady where something real is developing. It requires evidence, it requires movement, however slow. Patience watches the seed and knows the soil is good and the water is coming. Patience has reason to stay. It can point to something concrete and say, "This is why I wait. This is growing. Slowly, but it is growing." What you are practicing is not patience, it is waiting. And waiting without evidence is not devotion. It is abandonment of yourself in someone else's lobby. You have taken a seat in a waiting room where your name will never be called. And you have decorated that waiting room with memories and excuses to make it feel like a place you chose, rather than a place you are trapped. Think of a flame. A flame in a lantern serves the one who carries it. It lights the path ahead. It warms the hand that shield it from the wind. It asks for nothing but air and a wick. And in return, it transforms darkness into something navigable. This is a flame with purpose. This is a flame with a home. But a flame left burning in an empty room, no one to see it, no one to warm. No hand reaching for it, no path to illuminate, does not become more beautiful with time. It does not become more noble for its solitude. It simply exhausts itself. And when it finally goes dark, slowly, without sound, without ceremony, no one notices. Because no one was there, because no one was ever coming, you are the flame, and the room you have been burning in is empty. This is not a tragedy, this is information. And the most powerful thing you can do with information is act on it. Not someday, not when you feel ready, not when the pain becomes unbearable enough to justify the move. Now, while it is still a whisper, because whispers do not stay quiet forever, they become the architecture of your life if you ignore them long enough. The small compromise you made last year becomes the foundation of the larger compromise you will make next year. And one day, you will look around at the structure you have built and wonder how you ended up living in a house that has no room for you. So here is the practice, and it is deceptively simple. Stop building bridges to people who are not walking toward you, not with anger, not with announcements, not with a speech you have been rehearsing in the shower for weeks, with silence, with the quiet, unremarkable act of turning your energy back toward your own life, the way you would turn a chair to face the window after sitting too long facing a wall. Do not explain your absence to someone who never noticed your presence. I know what you might be thinking now. You might be thinking, but what if I am wrong? What if they do care and they just cannot show it? What if I leave and I lose something real? This fear deserves honesty, not dismissal. So let me sit with it beside you. Yes, it is possible that they care in a way you cannot see. People are complicated. Pain makes us clumsy. History makes us guarded. Some people love poorly, not because they do not love, but because they never learned how. They grew up in the same kinds of rooms you did, rooms where affection was rationed, where vulnerability was punished, where the safest strategy was distance. And now they carry that distance into every relationship, not as cruelty, but as the only architecture they know. And still, this does not change what you must do, because here is what is also true, and it must be said without softening. You cannot heal someone by letting them wound you. You cannot teach someone your value by accepting less than it. You cannot love someone into treating you well. That is not love. That is a transaction disguised as sacrifice. And the longer you stay in that transaction, the more of yourself you spend, until the person you were when you entered this arrangement no longer exists, and the version of you that remains tired, diminished, grateful for scraps, is someone neither of you recognizes. Forgiveness does not mean access. This is a distinction that changes everything, and most people never make it. You can forgive someone completely, release every ounce of bitterness, wish them well from the deepest chamber of your heart, genuinely hope they find their way, and still choose never to stand that close to them again. Forgiveness is an act of the spirit. Proximity is a decision of the mind. They do not have to travel together. And letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop allowing your caring to cost you your peace. It means the love remains. It can remain forever if it wants to, but it no longer has a leash around your neck. You can hold someone gently in your memory without holding a door open that they keep walking past without entering. Can you care without losing yourself? Can you remember without becoming imprisoned? Can you walk away without needing to destroy what you are leaving? Can you be soft and still be unreachable to those who have proven they will not handle you with care? Can you hurt without becoming hateful? Can you open your hands and let something go without closing your heart to everything that might come after? This is the practice. Not hardness, not coldness, not the steel mask that some people wear and call independence. That mask, let me be clear, is just another cage. Shinier, yes, more impressive from the outside, but a cage nonetheless. The person behind that mask is not free. They are just performing freedom the way they once performed patience. Swapping one act for another is not transformation. The real practice is something rarer. It is warmth with boundaries. It is openness that knows where the door is. It is a heart that remains tender not because it has never been hurt, but because it refuses to let the hurt become its permanent shape. There is a teaching in the old temples, not spoken often, because it is easily misunderstood by those who want shortcuts. A mountain does not chase the clouds come. They wrap the summit in gray. They block the sun for days, sometimes weeks. The wind carries rain that batters the stone, and the mountain does nothing. It does not reach upward, trying to hold the clouds. It does not bend, trying to see around them. It does not shrink, hoping to slip beneath the weather. It does not carve itself into a smaller shape so the storm will pass more quickly. It stands, not because it does not feel the cold, not because it is indifferent to the rain, but because the mountain knows deeply, in its stone and soil and root, that it was here before the clouds arrived, and it will be here long after they pass. The mountain does not confuse weather with identity. The storm is happening to the mountain. The storm is not the mountain. You are the mountain. And the person who treats you as an option. They are weather. They are passing. They feel like everything right now, the way a storm feels like the whole sky when you are caught in it. But they are not sky. They are not your sky. They are a season, and seasons end. They always end. Not because you forced them to, but because that is the nature of all things that are not rooted. Your work is not to chase. Your work is not to convince. Your work is not to wait, kneeling at the edge of someone else's attention, hoping they will turn around. Your work is to stand fully, without apology, without explanation, without the performance of strength that is really just fear in a louder voice. Just stand, the way the mountain stands, not rigid, alive, not closed, complete. And let your stillness say, what no words can, I was here before you noticed, and I will remain after you look away. Not because I am waiting for you, because I am home. Let me speak now to the part of you that is afraid this means you will be alone. That fear is honest. Do not push it away, do not shame it. Sit with it the way you would sit with a child who woke up frightened in the night. Do not explain it away. Do not tell it to be brave. Just be there. Let it say what it needs to say. Let it cry if it wants to, and then gently offer it this. Being alone and being abandoned are not the same thing. You have been confusing the two for a very long time. Being abandoned is something that was done to you. Being alone, choosing your own company over someone's half presence, is something you do for yourself. One is a wound, The other is medicine. They feel similar on the surface, the way hunger and emptiness feel similar. But one is the body asking for nourishment. The other is a space preparing to be filled with something that actually belongs there. Here is what no one tells you about choosing yourself. It does not feel triumphant at first. It does not feel like victory music and sunlight and a chapter ending neatly. It feels like grief. It feels like a room that suddenly has too much space and too much quiet. You were so accustomed to orbiting someone else, organizing your emotions around their gravity, that when you stop, the stillness feels like falling. It is not falling, it is landing. For the first time, perhaps in years, you are touching your own ground. And from that ground, something begins to grow. Not quickly, not with fanfare, not in a way that makes a good story for others to admire, but slowly, the way dawn does not announce itself with noise but simply arrives, and suddenly the whole landscape is different. And you cannot point to the exact moment the dark became light, because there was no moment. There was only a turning, a slow, faithful turning. You begin to notice what you actually want, not what you trained yourself to want in order to keep someone close. You begin to hear your own voice, not the edited version you created for their comfort, but the raw, unfinished, honest one that has been waiting beneath the performance like a river, beneath ice, still moving, still alive, still knowing its direction even when the surface was frozen. You begin to respect your own time, your own silence, your own company, and that respect is not arrogance. It is not the fortress of someone who has given up. It is the foundation that every real relationship must be built on. Because you cannot offer someone a home inside you if you have not built one for yourself first. And you cannot build a home if you keep giving away the bricks to anyone who seems like they might stay. So here is what I want to leave you with. Not a list, not a formula, not a set of rules that will make the pain disappear by morning. Just a quiet map of the ground you have covered tonight. You remove the need to be chosen, and dignity returns. You remove the habit of waiting, and your life begins to move again. You remove the performance of patience, and real clarity takes its place. You remove the fear of being alone, and you discover you were never truly accompanied by someone who treated you as an option. You were just lonely in their presence. And that is the worst loneliness there is. The loneliness of being with someone and still feeling unseen. You remove the belief that your love must be earned. And you begin to offer it freely, but only to those who meet you in the open, not those who keep you in the margins of their attention. And slowly, without ceremony, without applause, without a single person watching, you change, not into someone harder, not into someone who no longer feels, but into someone who feels everything and still chooses themselves. Someone who can hold love in one hand and a boundary in the other and understand that both hands are open. Someone who does not need to be loud to be strong, does not need to be cold to be safe, does not need to be chosen to know they are worth choosing. The person who treated you like an option, they gave you something without knowing it. They gave you the question you were afraid to ask yourself: do I need someone else to see my worth in order to believe it exists? The answer is no. It was always no. And the moment you stop competing for someone's attention, you reclaim something far more valuable than their love, your own respect, your own center, your own unmovable ground. This will not be loud. The deepest shifts never are. No one will throw a parade for the night you finally put the phone down and did not check again. No one will write songs about the morning you woke up and for the first time in months, your first thought was not about them. No one will know about the quiet afternoon when you sat alone and felt not happy exactly, but whole, unbroken, still here. But you will know, in the silence, in the stillness, in the small ordinary moments where you catch yourself breathing freely, you will know. Let that be enough. Let your healing be private, not because it is shameful, because it is sacred. Let your strength be quiet, not because it is weak, because the strongest roots are the ones no one sees. Let your life become the evidence